Hi, my name is Tim Metcalf, and today we're going to be going over the design process of CTF-Aydoz. I created CTF-Aydoz for the remake of Unreal Tournament. The gameplay type is very fast, and the players are constantly moving, so dead ends are a no-go. So I had to make sure I designed the map in a way so the flow of the gameplay would never be interrupted. My thoughts for the map were to go with a desert ruins environment. My main inspiration was the planet Aydoz from the TV show Stargate SG-1, hence the map eventually being called CTF-Aydoz with a Z. I knew my gameplay type was going to be capture the flag, but I was determined not to go with a symmetrical design of map. This was my finalized node-based design. I wanted there to be the same amount of routes on both sides, but have all routes be designed slightly different. This would mean that all routes would lead to the center, which would be the main area that combat would take place. I additionally wanted there to be a directional flow to the map. I wanted players to be able to keep moving and there to be no dead ends, like I mentioned earlier. This is why my main inspiration for the node design was the infinity sign, which you can hopefully clearly see in my node design. This is a main overview of the map. The pyramid is the red team spawn with the red flag, and the ruin section over here is the blue team spawn with the blue flag, and a main area in the center where combat will take place. When it came to the outside section of the map, I added the foundation of buildings that I would then make into ruins. From the highest section of the map, players would have an incredible vantage point over all the map. I had to ensure that each of the buildings had sufficient cover to keep players safe and not make it too easy for a player with a sniper in this position. I was very keen to add replayability in my map so that players that had experience with the game would still be able to find new things to discover on every replay. One of the ways I did this was by positioning weapons and power-ups in places that could only be accessed through wall running. This would reward players that had experience with the game and the map. After my first 2 playtests, I had ample information to really start iterating on my map. Then I looked at my feedback. A recurring theme was that the center area needed more structures. As I mentioned earlier, this was something I was concerned about. I did add extra cover with buildings, but evidently not enough. So I got to work redesigning the center to have a structure that could be used as cover from the sniper position above. A player said that the wall running platforms I designed were too challenging and needed to be made more achievable. When redesigning the center, I made the platforms larger and made the jump sequence less complicated. I still did design the jumping sequence to be challenging because I want it to be a reward for players with more skill, but the chunkier design will make it more achievable for the majority of players. I then added some additional aspects of the map that would help players with navigation. First and foremost, I was concerned about the center area becoming too busy and distracting, and players not knowing where the opposite team's flag would be. Unreal Tournament Editor does by default offer arrows that you can add to your map to guide players. Personally, I find this a rather unnatural way to guide players. I would much prefer something that would be hidden and discreet that would help the player without them even noticing. For example, this image is from a level designer that worked on The Last of Us Part 2. Looking at the image, you can see particularly in the bottom right how the building is actually designed to direct your eyes in the direction that the designer wants the player to move to. This really inspired me to add something like this into my own level. I used an obelisk that had collapsed as a guide to point players' eyes to the blue spawn. It didn't work as well as I hoped it would, but it should still help players. Now onto the entrance of the pyramid. As seen in the first image, it was quite open with no cover. Therefore, I added an ancient Egyptian themed archway so that it would bottleneck the route in and out of the pyramid. I then made an additional hole in the archway so there would be 2 routes. This is because in Ben's small Bible of realistic multiplayer level design, he advises there must always be at least 2 entrances in and out of a location. The flag room inside the pyramid had some problems. A player from the blue team would run in and collect the flag, then need to turn almost 180 degrees to go down one of the 3 routes back to the blue flag. I went about redesigning the room so that the player would only have to turn a maximum of 90 degrees. Firstly, I moved the flag position and brought it closer to the front of the room, in line with the 2 tunnels leading out of the pyramid. Additionally, to ensure that the red team didn't spawn next to the flag, I created a new section of the chamber and moved the spawn points there. Now it will take a few seconds for a red team player to get to the red flag from when they spawn. A player said that if an enemy had the flag and were in the mountain pass route, they were unreachable. I changed the route to go around the outside of the mountain so that it would be open and all players would be able to see and shoot at anyone going along this route. This means no one could sneak away with the flag. One of my last changes was revamping the blue team spawn. In my initial design, the blue team players would spawn very close to the blue flag. Additionally, the blue spawn, compared to the rest of the map, didn't capture an ancient Egyptian theme. I created a new and more grand entrance to the blue spawn that identifies it as one of the key areas of the map to help players navigate. For the design of the blue spawn, I decided to go with a temple theme. and was inspired by the ancient Egyptian temple of Luxor, and created an area with columns that can be climbed on to reach powerful pickups. The spawn points of the blue team have been moved further away from the flag. Additionally, where they spawn, their line of sight is blocked and is not directly looking at the flag, so it will take a moment for them to start attacking any players that might be trying to steal the flag. Thank you for watching my breakdown of CTF-Aydoz.